Cherie Soria is the founder and director of the Living Light Culinary Institute, and she has 4 books, including Raw Food Revolution Diet, Angel Foods, and coming out on 12/12/12 will be Raw Food for Dummies. So, just in case we couldn't read it.
Yeah.
So there it is, and today the demonstration that we're having is Forget Cooking, the Forget Cooking Spectacular, and we'll get into soups without cooking. Enjoy the delicious food. We look forward to seeing you throughout the weekend. Enjoy your time.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I am so happy to be here for the 13th annual Vegetarian Day celebration. This is one of my favorite events of the year. So thank you all very much for coming and getting started with me this morning. I am Cherie Soria, and it is so amazing, this journey that I've been on. Really, I've been teaching vegetarian culinary arts for 40 years. I'm 65. And so I didn't start when I was a teenager. And I've been teaching raw culinary arts for 20 years. So my journey has been one of evolution. I started teaching vegetarian foods when people thought you'd die if you didn't get enough, if you didn't eat meat because you wouldn't have enough protein. And now people wonder, they still wonder that. They still think that they have to eat at least legumes and wheat, grains, and all of that to get enough protein. And the reality is there's plenty of protein in the plant kingdom. Especially if you eat a diet that is high in green leafy vegetables, you will get plenty of protein and plenty of calcium as well. So it's really not an issue, although we do teach classes at our school in Fort Bragg on the science of raw food nutrition, to help you to understand what nutrients we all need, whether we eat meat or don't eat meat, whether we include gluten products in our diet or don't include gluten products in our diet. And of course the raw food diet, especially the raw vegan diet, which most raw food enthusiasts do adhere to a vegan diet, also is typically gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free, and free. It offers freedom, energy, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful way to live and eat. And today, we're going to show you how delicious it can also be. How many of you are coming to the dinner this evening? Because we are catering the dinner this evening, and the first soup that I'm going to prepare for you is one of the many courses that you will have in more abundance than just, the sample that you're going to get this morning. One of the soups that you'll be getting today. And you have the recipe for that soup in front of you. There are 3 soups that we're going to be demonstrating. One is creamy red bell pepper chipotle soup with cashew yogurt. That's the one that's on the menu for tonight. And our culinary programs manager, Martine Lucier, who is with me right here. You want to come over closer so the camera can pick up on you. This is Martine Lucier, and she has been with Living Light for, 5 or 6 years now?
I would say 6.
6 years. And she is a consummate chef and instructor. She's actually going to be demonstrating a wonderful green soup that's high in protein and high in calcium. I just said that. And that will be the second demo of the morning. And then I'm going to finish with a zucchini bisque, a wonderful, flavorful, pureed zucchini soup that is topped with a shave fennel. So all of these soups could be served to people who really have never even thought about eating a vegan diet, and they would still appreciate them. We know at Living Light Culinary Institute, where we are in Fort Bragg, California, and I founded the school, Living Light School, 15 years ago. People, by the way, come from over 50 different countries to study at our school. And we are a California state licensed private post-secondary school. So people come to our school really wanting to have the best of health, but it has to taste good. And that's what we are known for. We're known to make the food taste great. Because if it doesn't taste great, people would rather die than change their diet. People die every day because they won't change their eating habits, right? So we inspire people to eat healthy by helping them to understand how to make it taste great. And taste isn't the only thing. We look for taste, texture, the way it looks. It has to be comforting. It has to offer all of the wonderful flavors that we feel that we need. Comforting foods that we're accustomed to. So at Living Light, we teach people how to make lasagna and pizza and burgers and French fries and everything that they think they would be missing out on, and they don't have to miss out on it at all. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with my Chipotle soup. First of all, I'm going to tell you that we pre-made a cashew yogurt. Now, cashew yogurt is very easy to make. All it takes is cashews, water, and a little bit of probiotic powder. Now, you have the recipe for that in front of you. I'm not going to make it in front of you because all it takes is blending the cashews that are soaked, and here's what cashews look like when they've been soaked. They plump up, and then they're drained just to get rid of any residual bitterness or anything. And then fresh water is added and a little bit of probiotic powder. I like to use Ejuva brand probiotic powder. This is Moflora. It's not in a capsule, so it's really easy to measure. It's very powerful, and it's my favorite. And we do have some. We brought some today, a limited amount for those of you who maybe can't find it. But you can use other kinds of probiotic powders, but don't buy the kind of capsules. Buy the powder, and make sure that it's a really strong, living probiotic powder. And so once you blend the mixture nice and thick, then you just let it sit on your kitchen counter covered for about 8 to 10 hours, and it will become a yogurt. It will ferment, and it's just brimming with wonderful active probiotics, and it has a nice tart flavor as well. So that's how we made the yogurt, and it's already done for you because we don't have 8 hours to wait around for it. Now I'm going to make the soup. Yes, I have a question?
Can you make the yogurt with a tablespoon of your old batch of yogurt as well?
You could use a starter if you want of old yogurt, not old yogurt, but previously made yogurt. And you can certainly do that. After a while, it will start to become less active, and it will take longer to ferment. And then it's not as safe to leave out for so many hours. So I never really do that. I always just use fresh. And it doesn't take very much. Really takes very little. You can see by your recipe. Okay, and that's a very large recipe that you have there. You could easily make a quarter of that at a time. You could make 1 cup if you wanted to just make it for this. But I think once you make it, you're going to realize that you can keep this in your refrigerator for a week, and you can have it over strawberries or with your granola. It's so good. And if you don't want to use cashews, you can use coconut. Young coconut flesh makes wonderful Thai coconut in place of the cashews. And just don't add water. Just the young coconut has enough moisture in it just to make the yogurt just the way it is. And you just blend it, and it will work. Okay, so now I'm going to make the rest of the soup. And as you can see by your recipe, it is a creamed soup. So I'm going to start with my cashews. And these cashews were a measured amount, 1 cup, and they swell up when they're soaked because now they're holding water. So I'm going to put those in my blender, and I'm going to add a measured amount of water to that. Just 2 cups. Really, you can start with even less than that. Just fill it until they're floating. So it's not really rocket science, I mean, food is just wonderful to play with, so have fun with it. And now I'm going to blend this. Rather than add all my ingredients at one time, I will always make my cream first. And that allows all of the nuts to stay down at the bottom of the blender and not be jumping all over the place and getting little speckles all over the side, and then I end up with bits and pieces. Remember I said that texture is very important, mouthfeel. You want a smooth, creamy soup, it's got to be smooth and creamy. It can't have little bits and pieces in it. So I'm using a Vitamix blender, and I'm going to start my Vitamix on low and turn it up slowly. If I turn it up too fast, everything's going to jump up again, and then it's the same thing's going to happen. So I'm going to turn it up slowly. I hope that you can see this in the screen. At Living Light Culinary Institute in Fort Bragg, which is up on the Mendocino coast, that's where our school is located, we have a beautiful audio-video system with a big, clear, high-definition screen up above, and all of the students can see everything wherever they are in the room. So I'm just going to make sure that this is nice and smooth. We don't want it to be gritty at all. Yes, I can see that that's going to take a little tiny bit more. I can just see it on the spoon that it's a little bit gritty. So I don't even need to taste it or anything. I can just take a look at it. And this doesn't have a little top on it, but it's not bothering me. Okay, so a little bit more. Okay, now I am going to add the rest of my ingredients. And I can see that this is smooth without even putting the spoon in there because it has a beautiful sheen. When it's smooth and there's no grit at all, the light reflects off of it and it just looks like satin. So that's another way of visually knowing that it's smooth enough. Yes, I have a question?
Can you use any other types of nuts?
You could use other types of nuts. I like cashews because they don't have skins. But you could use macadamia nuts. Now, if you use macadamia nuts, it's really going to taste like macadamia nuts because they're a much stronger flavor. You can also use pine nuts, but it's going to have more of a pine taste. Cashews have the least identifiable flavor when you're putting all the other flavorings in. So, but you certainly can. And you could use coconut, but again, it will have more of a coconut taste. And what I want is I want the peppers and the chipotle and all my other flavorings to really be up front because it's a pepper soup. All right, so now we're going to just go through the recipe together so that you can see that we are adding all of the ingredients in the order that they are listed. These are bell peppers. They're beautiful, bright red bell peppers. The seeds and the membrane have been removed and they've been just rough chopped. If you were using a regular blender, you'd want to chop them more finely. This is a high performance blender, so really we can, we can chop them pretty large. Now I'm going to add some of my flavorings, and this is chipotle pepper. It's organic chipotle pepper. The recipe may call for 1 chipotle pepper, but I've recently found that I can get organic chipotle powder, and so that's what I'm using now, and I'm using about a teaspoon of that. Is this a teaspoon? About a half a teaspoon. Okay, so we're going to put that in, and we're also putting in some light miso, which is one of my favorite ingredients for soups and sauces and dressings. Because it is fermented, it also will add to the probiotics, and it has umami. Those of you who know what umami is, it's the flavor of deliciousness, the flavor of comfort. So it's wonderful, slightly sweet, slightly salty, and it really does round out all the other flavors very nicely. I'm adding regular organic paprika, that's a sweet paprika, as well as a little bit of smoked paprika. Now, this is not raw, but look at how much is in there for all that I'm making. I am not a raw food Nazi. I'm not worried about a little bit of cooked food at all. In fact, I'm not 100% raw 100% of the time. Vegan, yes. Organic, as much as possible. But when it comes to cooked food, I don't think it's going to kill me. So that's a little bit of smoked paprika. I'm also going to add some salt, of course. I'm going to hold back on a little bit of salt and taste it at the end to see if it really needs the rest. I always do that with salt because salt, and this is Himalayan crystal salt. This is my favorite salt because it comes from a region of the world that has never seen pollution. All of our oceans now, I'm sorry to say, are polluted. So I get my salt from the deep mines of the Himalayan region. We're adding a little bit of nutritional yeast just to up the kind of creamy cheesiness and get a little extra B12 at the same time. And I'm also adding just a pinch of lemon juice, just to round it out the flavors, because when you are putting flavors together, you want to make sure that you have a balance of all the flavors. You want to have sweet, sour, salty, some bitter. If there's nothing bitter, actually there's always something bitter, even when you're not planning on bitter. Usually there's a secondary bitter quality to any of your spices. So, and then we added umami, which is a fifth flavor. We're also adding some pungency here with a powdered onion, and also a little bit of powdered garlic. And we're using the powdered onion and powdered garlic instead of fresh because we want it to taste like a cooked food. We don't want bits and pieces of onion, and we don't want that strong onion taste that kind of hits you over the head and takes over everything. So when we use the powdered onion and garlic, it just integrates into the dish and it adds to the flavor profile so that we have a complete, round, full flavor without onion, garlic, individual flavors. And this is just a pinch of white pepper. White pepper, again, integrates beautifully into the food. So now we're going to blend this. I have extra water that I'm going to add. Actually, this is my full measurement of water, so I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of that now. And we'll see. We can make this soup very thick and rich, or we can make it thin and light, more like a broth. I think today for our samples, it's on the thinner side, but this evening it will be a little bit more on the richer side. So you're going to be able to see it both ways. All right, so let's get this going. Now the really important thing when I'm blending here is to make sure that all of the pepper skins are well blended. Because pepper skins are, they're almost like plastic, they're so tough. And I don't want little bits of skins left on my tongue and on my teeth after I eat what should be a beautiful creamy soup. So I'm just going to take a look at this. It wouldn't surprise me if it still had a little bit, and it does. I can see little bits and pieces of the skins in there. So that's what I'm paying attention to here, is that. And we're going to blend it a little bit more again. Here we go. Thank you. No need to rush this. Make sure that you get it nice and smooth. You do have to be careful when you're using a Vitamix, because if you leave it in too long, it will cook your soup. And even though, as I said, I'm not, cooked food phobic or anything, I want a raw soup here. And so I don't want it to get hot. Warm is lovely, though. It can be warmer than body temperature. After all, 115 to 118 is perfectly safe. It doesn't kill the antioxidants, it doesn't kill the phytonutrients, it doesn't kill the enzymes. So we're getting all those wonderful benefits that the fresh, ripe, raw, organic foods provide for us. And that's why it makes us so energetic and stay young longer. So it looks very nice to me now. I can see that it's nice and smooth. And the last ingredient that I'm going to add is red tomatoes, and preferably red ripe tomatoes that have been seeded and peeled. It's not difficult to peel a tomato. It just takes a little bit, just a knife. You don't have to blanch it or roast it or anything like that to get the skins to crack. They actually peel very easily. So I'm adding some tomato. You can leave that out if you don't like tomatoes, but it won't really make it taste like tomatoes. It just adds another level of flavor, of vibrancy, without having to add more lemon, which is more acid. So it adds a little bit more sweetness and a little bit more of the acidity that I like in this soup. It really has kind of a Latin flavor, and so tomatoes add to that. Now, if you wanted texture in this soup, you certainly could add more tomatoes afterwards. You could garnish it with chopped tomatoes if you want. That would be lovely. we're going to be putting yogurt on top, and that is a really nice way to change the flavor because you'll have the nice light tartness of the yogurt. I think I need to blend this just a little bit more. I want it to be nice and smooth for you. Okay, now it's slightly warm but not hot. If you wanted it to be warmer, you certainly could put it in a jar and then put it in a warm water bath to make it warmer, or put it in a jar and put it in the food dehydrator, and that will also warm it up. This looks beautiful. Oh, it smells so good, but I better taste it because I didn't add all the salt, did I? Okay, so I'm going to taste that and just see if it needs all the salt or not.
Why did you put the tomatoes at the end and not with everything else?
Oh, this is such a good question. The question was, why did you put, that is so good. A little delayed reaction there, but yeah, it was really good. No, I don't really think it needed the extra salt, so I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I don't have a real salty palate, so this is fine for me. Somebody else might want a little bit of salt, but I think this is good.
Would you mind to plate it first?
I wouldn't mind plating it first. Okay, then the question is, why did we, oh boy. Why did we, there you go.
Thank you, Cherie.
So you have some samples. Why did we add the tomato at the end? The reason is that tomatoes tend to get frothy when you blend them. If I put the tomatoes in at the beginning, the soup would get more frothy. And it, as you can see, gets a little bit frothy already just from blending. So I don't want it to turn into a mousse soup, tomatoey, peppery mousse soup. So that's why I usually save the tomatoes to blend toward the end. And this has no other fat other than the cashews. Now I'm going to add some cashew yogurt to this, and I have it in a little squeeze bottle. I'm just going to check how thick that is. Okay. And there's many different ways that you could have a lot of fun with this. You could do it in circles and drag it with a toothpick and, make any kind of little designs that you want. I'm just going to do it like that. A little Picasso in me. So, and there you have it. Now, another thing that I could do, and I wouldn't mind doing this because I do like this, is just to infuse a little bit more right down the center. So that when I'm eating it, I get more than just this little bit. There's more down inside. So we're going to be passing those samples out any minute. We're going to do this progressively. Every time you see me make a soup, we're not going to make you wait until the end to taste it. Yay. And we're just going to go ahead and provide you with those samples. But I hope you can smell it, those of you that are up front. Well, you're going to get to smell it in just a minute. So, do we have any questions about that? Yes, question over here.
Could you just share for those of us who are unfamiliar with raw food, maybe a couple sentences as to why it's...
Why? Okay, sure. What some of the benefits of the raw food? I start to say the raw food diet, but really it's more of a lifestyle. If you can make sure that you're eating at least half of your diet raw. Now, typically if you're considered a raw fooder, you're eating about 80% of your diet raw. And I'm somewhere in there, but when I travel, it's less, and when I'm home, it's more. I don't judge that. What I judge is how good does it make me feel? Because I think some people who want to get healthier, and they maybe read a book by somebody that talks about the raw food diet. They might think that everything that's raw is good and everything that's cooked is bad. And that's really not true. There are a lot of cooked foods that are better for you than some raw foods. For example, you could eat a cheesecake, and I can make a dynamite cheesecake. Believe me, you can eat a raw food cheesecake, and it's wonderful, but it's not something you should eat every day. But you could eat cooked kale every day, and you'd get a lot of benefit from it. So for the most part, a healthy, raw, organic diet is very good for you. But as always, you need to be selective. And if you're eating a 50 to 80% raw food diet, it's not going to be the healthiest for you if the other 50 to 20% is French fries and chips. You know? So what you eat is important, and what you don't eat is important. But the raw food diet provides you with all the phytonutrients and antioxidants and enzymes that are super important because they are our first defense against cancer and other diseases. And without them, you know, we will age faster. We won't have the vitamin C and a lot of other vitamins that are destroyed by heat. They are heat sensitive. They're even light sensitive. So by preparing our food fresh and not cooking it above about 115 degrees, we're not killing those really important nutrients that we need. And so the vegan diet by itself is just not enough. I know a lot of vegans. I've been on the vegan road for 40 years. I know a lot of vegans who, after many years, are finding themselves with middle-age spread because they're still eating, you know, bread and pasta and pastries and chips and junk food. They're junk food vegans. How many of you, you know, have been, if not are now, junk food vegans? I was one. I admit it. That's right. But it's not the healthy way to go. If you're going to be a vegan and not a raw food vegan, that's fine, but make your choices clearly. And make sure that you have plenty of fresh salads every day, not loaded with high fat, you know, high fat dressings. Make good dressings with good oils. So you're making sure that, and another thing about the green leafy vegetables that's important is that you're getting omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids, another really important, essential nutrient, especially if you're eating seeds or nuts or chips or anything like that, because if you're eating those foods, you're getting a lot more omega-6s, and omega-3s have to balance out with the 6s. So the more 6s you eat, the more 3s you need.
So, Cherie, where do we get the 3s from?
So you can get omega-3s from green leafy vegetables. You can get them from flax, and flax crackers are wonderful. You can get omega-3s from walnuts, from chia, which is wonderful, and from hemp. Those are the highest sources of omega-3 fatty acids, aside from fish, which, you know, we don't count. So, yes?
When you're creating a recipe, how do you decide on the different spices and...
This is such a good question. You've asked me two good questions now. When you're creating a recipe, how do you decide how much different flavors you use? How do you know where to start? Well, this is one of the things that we are famous for at Living Like Culinary Institute. We teach students how to develop flavors, how to develop their own recipes, where to start, how much of what to use. In fact, we have flavor balancing and flavor dynamics classes where we are teaching people all the different flavors. I mentioned some of them: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, umami, pungent, and so forth. We have the different flavors with all different ingredients in each one, and you taste them, and then you mix and match them, and then you start to understand what flavors are what and how they are affected by other flavors. So very, very important to have a sense of freedom that you don't really have to follow a recipe, that you can open up the refrigerator and you can literally just say, okay, I have something sweet, I have something sour, I have something bitter, I have something salty, I have some garlic or other pungent flavors. I can make a great dressing. You don't have to follow a recipe, and that's one of the things that we are known for at Living Light. I'm going to now bring in Martine Lucier, who's going to show you a really simple soup that I eat several times a week. Even though, you know, people think of me as a gourmet chef, which of course I am, in my personal life, I eat very simply. I really like simple foods that don't take too long to make, that don't take too long to eat, but that give me all the nutrients that I need to maintain my busy lifestyle. And I'm a very busy woman. My husband, Dan Latterman, he's sitting right here, and I have 4 businesses. We have the Living Like Culinary Institute. We have a Living Like Cafe. We have a marketplace, which is a physical retail store for chefs. with an online store as well. And we have an inn for our students who come, as I said, from over 50 different countries. So we're managing 4 businesses. We just finished our 4th book. We travel around the world. And so we got to keep our energy high. And I don't want to teach burnout. I want to teach energy, an energetic life, and a stay young life. And so I've got to, walk my talk, and I love doing that. So I'm going to bring Martine in, and I'm going to answer this one question.
What are the top 5 oils that you would, from the best to the least?
What are the top 5 oils that from the best to the least? I'm going to save that question because I don't really use 5 oils. There's only a few. I only really use olive oil and flax, so I don't use a lot of oils. I really prefer to use whole food fats. You're going to see my first soup today, I didn't use any oil. Our soup here, we didn't use any oil. And in our 3rd soup, we will use some oil, but we really limit the amount of fractional fats. That means oil, because it has been removed from its whole food source, is just not as good for you. So yes, we do use some, but we try to use more whole food fats. They're much better for you.
Is there a brand of olive oil that you like?
There are a lot of olive oils that I like, really. I'm getting the hook over here, so I'm going to have to stop. We'll take more questions about oils at the end, okay? Because I really want to give Martine her time. Okay, Martine.
Okay, my mic is on. Good morning, everyone.
Oh, we have to give you this one, though. Sorry, you have to have 2 mics.
Okay.
Just stick that one in.
I'll have 2. I'm okay with that. Double mics. Okay, so once again, good morning. My name is Martine, and I am originally from Montreal, so this is why I have an accent. That's what people tell me. But anyway, I am going to show you how to make a garden blend soup, and you have the recipe in front of you. And as Cherie was saying, is that we love to have garden blend soup almost every day. This is it's part of my daily meal, actually. It's very easy to make. Everything is blended. Everything is easy to digest. And this is a good way for me to get some greens or adding some greens into my diet. I don't know because it is from my culture, but I love bitter taste and all greens. I've been, eating them since I'm little. So the more green, the better I feel. And it is a good source to get your protein. So if ever someone is asking you, okay, on a raw diet, where do you get your protein? Greens, leafy greens. It's one of the best source of protein ever and a good source of calcium. So this recipe is very simple, and the way that it is simple is that you're taking your ingredients, you chop them very roughly, you put them in your Vitamix or high-speed blender, you blend everything, and it's ready for you. Of course, it is a garden blend, and I like the title just because it's garden blend. So there's different kind of ingredient that is coming from the garden, especially some greens. As sometimes if a recipe is called green soup, people are like, oh, green soup. They have a memory that is not really pleasant because greens are usually bitter, and some people are very afraid of that bitterness. So I like the garden blend soup. So it's a mixture of ingredient and produce and a mixture of flavor. So all of the flavors will be balanced in this recipe, and this is what we love it so much. So you can eventually, play or change the flavor as you go, but the one that I'm going to show you right now is totally perfectly balanced. So I'm going to start with my first ingredients, which is orange, and of course I want to remove the peels of my orange, so I cut the top and the bottom, and using my chef knife I am going around and peeling my orange. And if you are coming at Living Light, we will show you how to handle your knife. We have a knife skill class where you will show you exactly how to do that. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So we have our orange right now in here. And then my next ingredients would be, what do they say in your recipe? Put all of the ingredients together. The water. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of water. So I need some liquid in here to make sure that my soup won't be too thick. Then after that, I can add a little bit of lemon juice. So lemon juice is sour, is acid, so it will balance out the sweetness of my soup. And we love lemon because it brighten up all of the flavors. right? So a little bit of lemon juice here. And when you are making your soup at the beginning, get familiar with the produce and the flavor, but depending of when you are making your soup, an orange sometimes can be more sour than sweet. Or during summertime, it will be more sweet than sour. So every time that you're making a recipe, have, the habit or the good habit to taste it. You might have to adjust a little bit as you go. Okay, and after that, I'm going to add the kale. So I have some greens here, and this is the green that I'm going to choose today, that I'm going to add to my Vitamix. So this is Dino kale, and what I like is I like to remove the leafy greens from the stem. The stem, there's nothing bad about this. Of course, we don't want to throw this away. We always keep it in a juicing bucket, and then we juice it at the end of the day or the next morning. So there is a lot of nutrients in here, but it has that kind of really rough and tough texture that we don't want to have this into our mouth. So I am going to show you here. So I am tearing off the leaves and then just pull the leaves along the stem. So pretty easy to do. Of course, here I'm using Dino kale, but you can always use different kind of kale, curly kale. You can use spinach if you want to, Swiss chard, collard greens, any kind of greens that you like and that you can find wherever you live. We're so lucky here in California that we have a good selection of good produce and organic, right? So I have a little bit of kale here, removing the stem. Whoops. And I'm going to add just a little touch of arugula. I had a little bit of extra, so I want to add a little bit of arugula with my kale. And arugula is a little bit peppery, but I'm going to balance it out. It's not going to be too intense with all of the other flavor that I'm going to add. The arugula won't taste just a little bit, not too much. I'm going to add an apple. Apple is sub-acid, right? So it's going to be not too sweet, right? Because for me, a garden blend soup doesn't have to be too sweet, right? We need to balance it out with the flavor. And of course, there's different kind of apples out there, from sweeter, some of them are a bit more sour. So just depending of what kind of apple you prefer. And you can see here, I'm just doing a rough chop. Right? I'm not mincing, I'm not doing anything fancy. My high-speed blender will take care of everything, okay? Then my next ingredients will be miso. You mentioned miso in your recipe, Cherie. So miso is there to give you a saltiness and a sweetness flavor. And at Living Life, we are using a chickpea miso, so it's not made with soy. So people that have soy sensitivity can enjoy the chickpea miso.
Or grains.
No grains. No grains, definitely. Yes. And next will be a little bit of garlic. I love garlic. It's just going to give me a little bit of pungent and drama flavor into my soup. And a little bit of cayenne. Not that it's going to be a spicy soup, but it's just going to be there as a back note. It's going to come up a little bit right after I'm going to sip it. Not to be too spicy, but if you like to have it spicy, then just go for it. A little bit of onions, so green onions will be there to give me a little bit of pungent flavor. Not too much, but just a little bit to balance out the bitterness. Put it here. All right, and then my next ingredients will be cilantro and avocado, which I'm going to hold on a little bit just because I don't want to over-process my avocado, because when you over-process avocado, you're incorporating more air into your vessel and the avocado will start to oxidize, and I don't want to have a frothy soup. So I'm going to turn it on here. I might have to go and use a plunger to push down my ingredients towards the blade, and I'm going to increase my speed. It's mixing well now. Beautiful color. Can you see that? I'm loving it right away. Right? It might be a little bit too liquid, although it's almost like a juice. But what I'm going to add next will be my avocado. My avocado will be my fat source, my fat content into this recipe. And it's going to give me the really nice and creaminess. So it's going to be acting as a thickener in my recipe. And all of those terms that we are talking about today, if you are coming at our school, we will definitely train you to talk all the same culinary vocabulary. Okay, so I cut my avocado in half. Then what I can do is I just can twist it, right? And I can cut my avocado here half in quarter and just peel the skin here. Isn't that easy? Right? So I'm going to put it here. And another part. And then I need to remove the pit of my avocado. Just insert your knife, twist it, and pull away the pit, right? You don't push forward the blade. If you're pulling away, there's no way you're going to cut your finger, okay? Sometimes it might be scary for you at the beginning, but we'll teach you how. Trust me. All right. So avocado in here. And then the next would be cilantro. I just need to hit this here. Okay. So cilantro will bring another flavor to my soup. It could be parsley if you want to, or other fresh herbs that it's coming from your garden. But cilantro, I like the combination of it. It is a little bit Latin, but at the same time, it just brings another flavor that I really like. And if the stems are too big, then just tear them. Put that cilantro in here, and then we're going to blend it again. Very easy. So I don't want to over-process my soup, right? I don't want to have it oxidize, but just enough. And this soup is a meal on its own. You have so many nutrients in here, like from orange to apple to a lot of greens, avocado, some seasoning. So there's not much that you need to add into it. And this soup will be good for about, like, it's always better if you drink it or eat it right away because you have all the nutrients, right? It is not going to have the time as much to oxidize, but it's going to hold pretty good for a day or two. Then eventually the flavors will change and the colors will change as well. What I like to do sometimes is if I have leftover of green soup for the next day, I would just add a little bit of a different dressing on it and just kind of stir it so that the color will change. I mean, the flavors will change, and you can change your topping as well. So here's my green soup. It's pretty thick here. I can thin it out a little bit with water, but that's okay for now. I didn't taste it, but I'm sure it's very good. There you go. Really. I'm not kidding. This soup is, I have an aftertaste of arugula right now, so it's very good. And the way that I just wanted to show you a little bit how you can decorate it or having a little garnish is slices of tomatoes on top. And they would be diced, so it would be called a concassé. So concassé is different kind of vegetables or fruits that are finely minced. I just want to show you here. Is there any question while I am cutting my tomatoes? Okay. Yes.
If you don't want to use miso, what do you substitute?
So if you don't want to use miso at all, non-miso at all, no soy.
No soy.
Well, of course, our miso, as she said, is made from chickpea, and it doesn't have, this particular miso has no grains and no soy. But if you don't want to use it because it's a fermented food, then just leave it out, and you might have to adjust add a little salt instead, or you could add some kelp or dulse, something salty, to make up for the lack of salt.
Mm-hmm.
It won't have quite as much of a roundness of flavor because that's what the miso does. But that's why at Living Life we use a zucchini miso for our dark miso and chickpea miso for our light miso because there's no grains and no soy.
Thank you, Cherie.
Sorry, what? If you can't add any salt, then you probably don't even want the salt. You're probably very happy with the flavor just the way they are because that's what you're used to. Just leave it out. Or add some some dulse or kelp, a little bit of sea vegetable will give it a slight saltiness.
Yeah, so as we are answering questions, my wonderful volunteers will pass around the soup sample. And I just want to say, too, that I have an amazing team in the back right now. I have 6 graduates from Living Light that are helping making the soups, and they will help us tonight to help out for our dinner. So I just want to make sure that we don't forget about them. They're hiding right now, but they're there. Yes? Oh.
Because Vitamix says you can process a soup until it's hot in the Vitamix.
Very good question. So the question is that how can I keep my soup warm if I kind of round it up a little bit?
I want it hot.
Okay, so if you want it hot, well, it depends on how hot you want it. Of course, the more that you're going to blend your ingredients in the Vitamix, it's going to get warmer, warmer, and warmer. So if you don't want to cook it, then you want to make sure to keep an eye on it. What I would do is I would use warm water or hot water when I added it to my Vitamix. I want to make sure that all of my ingredients are at room temperature, so it will keep it warm. And what you can do is before you're putting the avocado into your soup, you can always heat it up in the dehydrator, or you can have it on the stove and have a thermometer and making sure that's not going to go over 110 degrees. When you can put your finger into your soup and you can hold it in there, you're good, right? As soon as it's getting too hot, then your soup is getting at a point that it's going to start to cook, which is where you don't want to go.
And there's no problem with nutrients if you keep it cooking.
Well, yes, there is. There is a problem, because the more you're starting to cook it, then eventually the temperature will increase, and we all know that above 115 or 180 degree Fahrenheit, the enzymes will start to change, and then you're going to lose the nutrient. Okay? One more question? Yes?
Are there alternatives to using avocado or cashew to lower the fat content?
So are there alternatives to replace the cashews and the avocados? The cashews and the avocados usually will be there for soup to make it more creamy and to kind of make it thicker. If you want to reduce the fat, you can either increase more of the green and adding some kind of seeds if you want to, or a little bit of olive oil. But the main thing is that they are there to make it thicker. So either you want to reduce the fat content into it. There is, if you want to, you can always use like peeled zucchinis. The zucchinis will be there as a thickener, although it doesn't contain any fat. It's not going to be as creamy, but it's going to be there to kind of give some kind of volume. There is some fruits out there that are high in pectin that will give you that kind of creaminess. I'm thinking about mangoes, avocados, even corn. Almost, every fruit has pectin, actually. Even bell peppers, they're pretty high in water, but they can provide some kind of pectin to you. You have a better answer to that?
Suggestion would be to add Irish moss,
Yeah.
which would add some thickness and body and give it that kind of creaminess that you're looking for. Another thickening agent that could be used would be something called xanthan gum. And xanthan gum is in almost all prepared dressings, even the organic dressings in the supermarket contain xanthan gum. And you don't use very much of it. It has to be blended in your blender when you're making your soups or dressings or whatever you're making, and it does add a nice body, a nice thickness to your product. And these are all things that you learn at Living Light. You learn about how to choose the right thickening agent, the right sweetener, the right binder, the right gelling agent to create the texture that you want. And just to let you know, at Living Light, we don't train just chefs. We train ordinary people who just want to be able to make great tasting foods for themselves and their families and be as healthy as they can possibly be. Yes, we also train people who want to make the healthy lifestyle their career. Teachers, chefs, personal chefs, retreat chefs, and a host of other kinds of careers. There's like 26 that I identified that our students have embarked upon since they took our training course. By the way, how have you liked your soup so far?
I want to know.
Yeah.
Good?
You like that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good. Perfect. Okay, then we can move on. Blender. I'll go and get one for you.
All right, then. Well, we're doing well on time. We actually have a couple of minutes We're actually a couple minutes ahead, which is pretty amazing. So I want to address a question that I had over here about oils. Is that your question? Okay. So you'll find that in fact this soup that I'm going to make now is an oil and vegetable based dish, and we are using all of it.
You need to wait for the samples. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. I'm having some dishes here. I need a blender. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. Go, baby. Oh, baby. I hope my mic is off. Love you. Love you. Love you. I love you. Oh, good. I love you.
I love you too.
Love you. Mwah.
So going back to any kind of oil, it should be organic and cold pressed. That's the most important thing, organic and cold pressed. And I will be using an olive oil, and the other kind of oil that we use often is actually flax oil. And we don't use a lot of it because flax has a very strong taste, but a little bit of flax oil can provide extra omega-3 fatty acids, and so we're adding it consciously in order to provide extra nutrients. We also use coconut oil. Now, coconut oil is a saturated fat, but it still has a lot of good properties. 50% of it is lauric acid, which is a good fat. Still, I suggest that you not overdo coconut oil because it is a saturated fat. So mostly we use it in desserts where, because of the quality of the fat congealing nicely, it provides extra body and binding quality to what we're doing. We don't put it in smoothies, we don't put it in dressings because it's just, we're not trying to incorporate a lot of it into our diet. Occasionally, we'll use a little bit of sesame oil if we're making something with Latin flair, but, we don't use it often. And I love chia oil, but it's very difficult to find, so you won't find it in our recipes because our recipes are designed so that anybody, anywhere in the world, can make the foods that we make. And that's important because we do have students from over 50 different countries who come to our school. And it's really fun for all of the students to get to meet people from other countries. It helps them to feel a sense of community, a global community, and understand that they're not alone in wanting to make these wonderful life changes in the way that they eat. Okay, I have another question back there. Why did we leave the seeds of the orange? We left the seeds of the orange because we're using a Vitamix, so there's so few of them because these are Valencia oranges. They're juice oranges, so there's not a lot of seeds. And because we had so many flavors and we're using a high-speed blender, you don't even notice the seeds. If they were large seeds or a lot of them, I would perhaps juice the orange or just remove the seeds. So there's no harm done with them. And I have a question back there. Yeah.
If you have this for dinner, as you mentioned, what do you put with it? I mean, I can't imagine you have a side salad. Do you have like a piece of whole bread, or what do you do to kind of fill out the meal?
I have been eating this way for so long. This is all I need. I am thrilled with just my soup. In fact, quite often, I go home with a salad from our cafe, and I put it in the blender and blend it. And I don't even use the dressing, but we have a little bit of avocado in it, and I'm thrilled with it. I have learned a lot about myself and the way foods affect me because I've been doing this for so long. And I know that if I eat a soup at night, I sleep well, and 5 hours, I'm up again, and I am ready to rock. RAWK. And so I love having soup at night, and I don't have bread with it. I don't have crackers with it. Very rarely do I have anything else with it. It's nurturing and satisfying to me. It's just like there are some foods that I just need to have regularly, and a green juice is one of them. There are some good addictions in life, and for me, that's the best one. When I travel, and we travel a lot, the thing that I miss the most is my green juice. And quite often I go and I get a juice, but it's just, they don't really put enough greens in it, or they're not organic, and so I'm rather spoiled. But I'm going to get started on my next demo here, because now I am a little bit behind. And it's going to be the other recipe that you have in front of you, the lemony zucchini bisque. Now, this soup was designed after a traditional Middle Eastern soup. And that's why it has oil in it, and it has lemon, and it has garlic. Those are the predominant flavors of this soup traditionally. Quite often, our foods at Living Light do have some kind of an ethnic origin. Because, as I said, we want people to feel that sense of comfort, where they came from, the memories. It's an important part of who we are, and what makes us enjoy the food that we eat is that it is familiar from our past, or we've had it before many times, and we really look forward to it and enjoy it. So this is a Middle Eastern-based soup, and I think that you'll like it. It is lemony, it is garlicky, and it has zucchini that has been peeled. You can see in your recipe that really all we have to do is add all of the ingredients and blend. But the one thing that I'm going to leave till the end, actually, even though the recipe doesn't say so, is my oil. And the reason is that if I wait until the end, then the oil won't become over-oxidized, and it will emulsify my mixture, so that the oils and the solids and the water all come together as one unit, and they don't separate. It also makes the soup creamier. So I'm going to go ahead and add everything except the oil. I'm adding my lemon juice. I'm adding water. A little bit of sweetener. Now, I'm using just a touch of agave. There's not much there. If you don't want to use agave, use any kind of sweetener you want. You could even use maybe a half of a date. Just anything for just the mildest little bit of sweetness. And that's just to balance all of the flavors, because I've got something acid in there. I'm going to be using something salty. That's my Himalayan crystal salt. And again, I'm going to hold back just a tiny bit, because I don't have a real salty palate, and we'll taste it at the end. I'm using some garlic, and because this is a high performance blender, I can just put it in there. Don't have to do anything special to it. I'm also adding some onion and garlic, so the onion powder and garlic powder both. And because it's a powder, it integrates into the mixture. So the fresh garlic and the combination of onion and garlic powder are my dramatic, pungent flavors. So I've had an acid, which was my lemon, and I've had salt, that's my salty flavoring. I've had onions and garlic, that's a pungent flavoring. And the zucchini is actually fairly sweet, especially because I removed the skins, which are on the bitter side. Anything green is usually considered bitter, but there's still a tiny bit of bitterness to it. And I use that little bit of agave, which is sweet as well. And that's all. Now, if I were to make this at home, which I do, I wouldn't peel the zucchini. But traditionally, this is just a white soup that has just a tiny tint of green. And that's why I'm making it this way. Some people, when they see a green soup, as Martine said, they kind of go, I don't know about that. So I just, because of general public appeal, I am going to, I have peeled these. And you could also use yellow zucchini. Yellow zucchini are nice. They're a hybridized fruit. Zucchinis are a fruit. They contain seeds. And it'll be a kind of a creamy yellow, which is very nice. All right, so the only thing I've left out so far has been the oil, and I'll be adding that at the end. And I don't believe I'll need the plunger. We will see, but turn it on low. Always start it on low. Turn it up slowly so it doesn't jump around. Whoop. Didn't turn it down fast enough. Turn it up. Now, why don't you want to blend fats longer? We talked about oxidation. Oxidation causes more free radicals. And free radicals are wayward molecules that attack the healthy cells. That's why we don't want to use cooked fats. You don't want to fry food. You don't want to grill food. You don't want to bake food with oil or any kind of fat in it. That includes nuts. Don't eat roasted nuts. Really not a good thing. If you're going to give up one food today to move toward a healthier lifestyle, give up anything that has fat in it that has been cooked. One thing you can do.
Even baked.
Baked. Baked is high temperature. You got to keep fats at low temperature. Otherwise, they create free radicals in your body that attacks your cells, that makes you old and gives you disease. You want to keep your cells healthy. Okay, so I'm going to taste this, don't I?
You have it right.
Thank you very much. Look at this beautiful color and the lovely texture. You see how it coats the spoon beautifully? Very nice. Now let's taste it and see if I left out too much salt or not. I love this soup. Yeah, I'm good. Okay, now we're going to put the soup in the bowl, and then I'm going to do a fun little trick here. This is very lemony, and not very, but it does have a nice acidity, and garlicky. If you are an ascetic and you don't eat garlic, you won't like this soup. How many of you like garlic? All right. All right. I need okay, I'm going to use, this is a fennel bulb, and fennel grows all over the highways of California. We are so lucky that we have fennel growing wild along the coast especially. And so this is a fennel bulb. The fronds are, sometimes those plants are like this big. They have a licorice taste when you eat the fronds. Really yummy to just chew on. And but this is the bulb part. And I am using a handheld ceramic blade mandolin. And you can make this any thinness or thickness you want. It has a little attachment back here. And I am going to just shave some fennel bulb, just like that. You can use this for so many different things, and it smells so nice. It has this wonderful anise-like smell. And I'm just going to float some on the top of my soup here. I made a whole lot more than I needed to. But it really adds a nice, it doesn't add color, it just adds texture and a lovely flavor. You probably can't see it in the light, in this particular camera, because it's not the high def like we have at Living Light. But anyway, trust me, it looks nice. And you're going to have a sample of that in just a minute. And here we have 3 lovely soups that we've made today. I don't know if the camera, can you hold the camera down and come down on those so our audience can see them or not? This is my husband, Dan Latterman. He's a great guy. And he's smart, too. I find that very attractive. Yes?
I still wonder about that olive oil that Dr. Esselstyn.
Yes. This would not be a Dr. Esselstyn recommended soup. But, not everybody follows the same regime. So what we like to do at Living Light is provide something for everyone. And you could, if you wanted to, and it still probably wouldn't be okay with Dr. Esselstyn, but you could use avocado as a thickener for this soup. What I tried to do was I tried to make it as traditionally as possible without cooking and using only the freshest, best organic products in it. So it's what I would say is that there are transitional foods. You go from here where you're eating a SAD, S-A-D, standard American diet, including, fast foods and all of that. And over here might be the Esselstyn and Gabriel Cousins and
David Wolf?
maybe, and Brian Clement, kind of really low or no fat, and the freshest raw fruits and vegetables available. And what we try to do is not necessarily make people jump to one end right from the beginning, but allow them to see that they can have all the flavors and the textures of the foods that they love and continue to move to a healthier diet as they evolve, which is the way I did it, and it ain't so bad. Now, if you have a health challenge like cancer, diabetes, skip the transition and go all the way to the goal.
Go for life.
Go for it, because you have to. You really have to. And then once you have recovered or achieved excellent health, then you can, start to incorporate be a little bit more inclusive of some other foods. Have a little bit of avocado once in a while. So really, I recommend that you also see how foods make you feel. Don't get too dogmatic and be too afraid of food. Make sure that you're eating foods that you enjoy and that are loaded with the nutrients that you need. And make them taste as delicious as possible, because otherwise what I find is many people just don't succeed. They say, you know what, this is boring, it's just not for me, I can't do it. And then they go back to their old ways. So.
Then, Cherie, we have our friends and family, co-workers that don't eat this way.
That is true. And then we have our friends and family and co-workers that don't eat this way. And you know what? If you can provide soups like this, you take these to work and you take a little bit of extra so you can share it with your friends. Quite often, or desserts or whatever you're eating that's delicious, quite often what will happen is they'll say, wow, if I could eat like that, I would too. Well, you can. Now, when I wrote my first cookbook, Angel Foods, Healthy Recipes for Heavenly Bodies, no publisher would take it because they said nobody wants raw food. And so I had to add half-cooked food recipes to my book. So it is really basically a transitional book. It's half raw and half cooked, all vegan, of course. And then when I wrote my next book, by that time, a lot of my students were already writing all raw books, and they were really popular. And so I wrote Comiendo Pura Vida first, which was an all raw food book, but that is in the Spanish language, because it's very popular, by the way. We're very popular in Latin America. And then we wrote Raw Food Revolution Diet with Brenda Davis and Visanto Molina, who are going to be here this weekend, I think. They were my co-authors on that book. And it has a tremendous amount of good nutritional science in it to show you how the raw food diet not only meets but exceeds, in many cases, the needs of the human body. And the recipes work. They taste delicious. And so my latest book, Raw Food for Dummies, just goes to show, 20 years ago when I studied with Dr. Ann Wigmore in Puerto Rico, my goal was to make this food taste good. So good that people would choose to eat it over the foods that they were eating before. And I wanted it to go mainstream. I wanted people all over the world to get the value and deliciousness of raw food. And I wanted to be able to eat in raw food restaurants all over the world. Well, 20 years later, I have a very mainstream book. You know that Wiley, the dummies people, they wouldn't want me to write a book for dummies unless it's popular, right? Unless they know that they can sell it. They're not raw fooders, believe me. Well, actually, I have a couple of editors now that are really on the raw food bandwagon. They wrote me and said, thank you so much. I learned so much, and I'm really adding all this to my diet now, and my husband loves it, and we feel so good and all that. But anyway, you know that they wouldn't be asking me, and they really bugged me for 2 years to write this book. And I resisted because I said, I don't even read dummies books. How can I write them? And what I found out is that dummies books are not for dummies. They're for smart people, intelligent, busy people who just want the facts. And they want all the facts, but they want it to come quickly and easily. They want to be able to open up the book, and on any page there's information there that they can learn from. And they don't have to go back and read a whole chapter somewhere else to get it. And so I learned a lot about dummies books, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to do it, because what this does is this proves to me that the raw food diet, that I have met my goal. The raw food diet has become mainstream. Woohoo! I am very happy about that. And everywhere I go, thank you. And it seems like everywhere I go, there are raw food restaurants now. I was in Bali, and there were several raw food restaurants. I was in Peru for my 65th birthday, and there were raw food restaurants in Peru. So, woohoo. We're happy.
I just want to have my volunteers and my wonderful people in the back. Please come right
And we're
here.
not finished yet, but we want to bring them up. Come on up.
Megan, okay.
Come on over here. Come.
Okay. Yay.
So these are all graduates of Living Light who offer to come and help us because we're catering the dinner tonight. It's an all-raw dinner. We're making the Chipotle soup with yogurt. We've got a beautiful quiche with a remoulade sauce, and we have wild rice and a wonderful arugula pear salad, and we're finishing the dinner with tiramisu.
Oh.
And so I hope you have tickets to live for.
To live for.
And I hope you have tickets because I believe that it's all sold out.
Yeah. And I just want to, a special thanks to all of you.
So everybody can see you.
You're here to help us, and they just came to Living Light, all of you this year, right?
Yeah.
You were here in July?
May.
May, you were just there, and then you were here in July. Megan was here like 3 years ago.
But Megan works at our school. She's an instructor.
And Erica, you were there in July. So amazing, exciting people. Don't they look good? Right? And I'm so grateful that you guys are here this weekend to help us. And we're going to rock this dinner tonight. Yeah. Believe me. You guys will enjoy it. Yay.
I have a couple more announcements that I want to make. We have a booth, and at the booth we have some, you can pre-order. The Raw Food for Dummies book is going to be released, get this, 12-12-12. I couldn't have planned that better. I mean, really, 12-12-12. And so but you can pre-order signed copies, and we're happy to do that. We also have a raffle. So if you sign up for the raffle, you may win our first flagship course. It's worth $375. We are located in the Mendocino coast, so you're like, people come from Australia, for God's sakes. So don't complain and say, can't you come to San Francisco? So come and see us up at the Living Light Center and stay at the inn and enjoy wonderful raw food. And I have my books also there, as well as some of the ingredients that we used in my first demo, the Chipotle powder, the Moflora probiotics, and the smoked paprika and all that. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I just have a quick question for you before we go. How about the GMOs? Do you have like a list of foods that have GMOs?
Anything that's not